Today is the fourth day of this June 2026 7-day Sesshin. And just to review what we did yesterday, a part of the story from yesterday, Enno Huineng traveled to the fifth patriarch's temple. Took him a month of walking to get there. As soon as he arrives, he is brought in front of the master and insulted. Then put to work hulling rice. And he does that work for 8 months. Not doing traditional Zen training. The fifth patriarch, wanting to find a successor, announced this poetry contest. And with great trepidation, Jinsu Joza, the head monk, submitted this poem. Our body is the Bodhi tree, and our mind a mirror bright. Carefully we wipe them hour by hour, and let no dust alight. The fifth patriarch, though he praised that poem publicly, in a private meeting with the head monk, told him that his poem showed that his understanding had approached the gate, but had not passed through it. Not yet. All right, now to continue the story. So after this, a novice monk passes by the rice hulling station where Enno is working. And he's reciting this poem. The fifth had recommended that this poem be recited, that people burn incense by this poem, because he said that, if you train in this way, you'll eventually realize awakening, or at least you won't go backwards. So this novice monk is reciting this poem of the head monks. And Enno overhears it and knows immediately that the author of the poem did not have clear understanding. So he asked about the poem, and the novice told him all about the poetry contest and the poem written on the wall. And Enno asked him, "Hey, can you take me to the poem too so I can pay my respects?" The novice does, drops him off at that wall. And there, an official is there, also reading the poem. He's reading it aloud. And Enno asks him, "Can you write down my poem?" And he does. This was Enno's poem. There is no Bodhi tree, nor stand of a mirror bright. Since all is void, where can the dust alight? Everyone who saw Enno's poem was astonished. They could feel the difference between the two poems. And there was this great commotion about this second poem there on the wall. And the fifth came out, saw what was going on, knew who wrote the poem, and said he dismissed it and rubbed it out with his shoe. he dismissed it so he would not endanger the life of the poet. We'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk about these two poems. Again, the head monk's poem. Our body is the Bodhi tree, and our mind a mirror bright. Carefully we wipe them hour by hour, and let no dust alight. One could say that's what we're doing here in Sesshin. Carefully wiping our mirror, hour by hour, letting no dust alight. But do we have to do that? This poem makes it clear that we need to do meditation to get rid of all of our thoughts and any other obstructions in order to attain enlightenment, to come to awakening for wisdom. But if we think, if I do this, Sesshin, Yaza, following the guidelines of Sesshin, sitting still, keeping my eyes lowered, eating less, all of that we've heard. If I do this, I'll get this. I'll get enlightened. Not only is such thoughts transactional, they're also dualistic and deeply delusional. Now, Enno's poem. There is no Bodhi tree, nor stand of a mirror bright. Since all is void, where can the dust alight? So in Enno's poem, he's not saying that you don't have to meditate. He's not saying you don't have to discipline yourself. Rather, he's not buying the idea that meditation produces awakening. He realized for himself the words that we recited at the start of this before Teisho, in Master Hakuin's chant in praise of Zazen. From the very beginning, all beings are Buddha. From the very beginning. You don't have to do meditation to be a Buddha. Practice, from this point of view, is the expression of our Buddha nature, just like walking, or sneezing, or blowing your nose. Here's some teaching from Enno, and this is from the Platform Sutra, translated by Red Pine. Good friends, this Dharma teaching of mine is based on meditation and wisdom. But don't make the mistake of thinking that meditation and wisdom are separate. Meditation and wisdom are of one essence and not two. Meditation is the body of wisdom, and wisdom is the function of meditation. Wherever you find wisdom, you find meditation. And wherever you find meditation, you find wisdom. Good friends, what this means is that meditation and wisdom are the same. Fellow students of the way, be careful. Don't think that meditation comes first and then gives rise to wisdom, or that wisdom comes first and then gives rise to meditation, or that meditation and wisdom are separate. For those who hold such views, the Dharma is dualistic. This relationship between meditation and wisdom, I think, can be seen as it's like those first two cards when building a card castle. You've done that before, taken a deck of cards, 52 cards, and built a structure from it by leaning one card against the other. But in order for that structure to be built, you have to have those first two cards standing up and stable. So you take one card in your right hand, another card in your left hand, and carefully lean them against each other. Is the card on the left holding up the card on the right? Is the card on the right holding up the one on the left? When they come together like that, the two cards are not two. In the same way, meditation and wisdom aren't two separate things. They're one functioning relationship, each one supporting the other, arising together. Eno refers to this not two-ness of meditation and wisdom as one practice, samadhi. Samadhi is absorption. This is what he says. One practice samadhi means at all times, whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, always practicing with a straightforward mind. This straightforward mind, it's actually quite a common theme in Zen, in the koans at least. There's a koan in the Mumonkan, number 31. Joshu investigates the old woman. In it, a monk asks an old woman, he's asking her for directions. He's visiting the abode of Manjushri, the mountain. Manjushri, the bodhisattva of wisdom. So he asked this woman for directions. So he's walking along, and the presumption is that he gets to some place where now he can't tell where he's supposed to go. Maybe there's a fork in the road, or it's in some kind of intersection. And there's no street signs like what we have here at Chapa Mill. So he asks for directions. So he asks her, what is the way to Mount Gotai? And the woman answers him, go straight on. So if you can imagine, he's at an intersection, a fork in the road. He has to choose, do I go this way or do I go that way? I don't know. And she advises, go straight on. Not the directions he was looking for. Another koan. This is in the preliminary koans. These are the ones that are taken up after a Kensho experience. It warms us up for subsequent koan work, other work in the other books. This one asks, how do you walk straight through a narrow mountain path of 49 curves? I think a better example of this same type of koan is the koan that you encounter each morning, closer here at Chapin Mill. How do you walk straight at the water table after early morning outdoor kinhin, when everyone's trying to grab a cup of water before heading into the zendo? How do you walk straight in that circumstance? And it continues in the Platform Sutra. He says, simply practice with a straightforward mind and don't become attached to any dharma, so anything. This is what is meant by one practice, samadhi. Deluded people who cling to the external attributes of a dharma get hold of one practice, samadhi, and just say that sitting motionless, eliminating delusions, and not thinking thoughts are one practice, samadhi. But if that were true, a dharma like that would be the same as lifelessness and would constitute an obstruction of the way instead. The way has to flow freely. Why block it up? The way flows freely when the mind doesn't dwell on any dharma. Once it dwells on something, it becomes bound. Now, I would like to take a byroad. Look back at something that we talked about yesterday. In respect to the words that Enno just said. The way flows freely when the mind doesn't dwell on any dharma. Once it dwells on something, it becomes bound. I want to revisit what was going on with the head monk during that poetry contest. He knew that none of the other monks would submit a poem. And he was in a mental loop about writing one himself. He wanted the honest feedback from his teacher about where he stood. But he was also afraid that the poem that he wrote would show a shallow understanding or no understanding at all. So here's a reminder about what happened yesterday. And now I've switched over to Not One Single Thing by Shodo Harada Roshi. When Jenshu Joza completed his poem, he tried 13 times to submit it to the fifth patriarch. But each time he started sweating and trembling so much that he couldn't follow through. Finally, he decided to wait until the middle of the night and write his poem on a wall of the monastery. If the Roshi praised it, then he would tell everyone it was his. If not, he would leave and live in the mountains for the rest of his life. And then he writes his poem on the wall anonymously in the middle of the night. And then Harada Roshi continues. Jinzu Joza returned to his room and, unable to sleep, worried about how the Roshi would respond to his poem. Would he see it and say, "What a splendid poem of enlightenment"? Or would he make a disapproving comment, revealing to everyone that Jinzu Joza had no karmic affiliation with enlightenment? You can clearly see that the head monk was dwelling on something. He was bound. He was not practicing with a straightforward mind. I think it's important to note that when the fifth patriarch created this poetry contest, before the head monk had even submitted his poem, the fifth knew where he was. He didn't have to stage this poetry contest to know that the head monk was not yet. There was no need for this test. Sometimes a teacher does testing just to see the depths of a student's practice if they don't know, the same way that the fifth patriarch did with Enno when Enno first arrived. Sometimes testing is done so the student can see for themselves what's going on, how deep their practice is. Because there's nothing more detrimental than believing you know something that you don't, that you've attained something that you haven't. Today, here, someone working on a koan, say working on a breakthrough koan, needs to have enough understanding of that first breakthrough koan and to be able to work effectively on other ones. That doesn't mean that there's no insight at all. It just may mean not enough yet. And then, of course, one never has to work on subsequent koans. One could work like they do in the Korean Zen tradition, where they work on the same koan for their entire lives, going deeper and deeper. And then one never has to work on a koan at all. But in testing a student, when a student is told no or not yet, it can be really hard for that student not to take it personally. After the fifth told the head monk not yet and invited him to write another poem, the head monk was so shaken by that feedback that he froze. He recognized that his understanding was insufficient. But it's easy to slide from my understanding is insufficient to I am insufficient. It's easy to go there. After someone has been practicing for a while, maybe going to many sesshins without having anything to show for it, which is what one student said. That's how they expressed it. One can think, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I just don't have what it takes. Or as the head monk's words, I have no karmic affiliation with enlightenment. You wouldn't be alone in feeling that way. I don't think I've met a student who at some point did not feel that way, including this one. Even the masters. We say in our repentance ceremony, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the past were like us. It's true. The Buddha himself had his doubts. Gute of Gute's finger, Kyogen, Rinzai. Rinzai practiced with his teacher for years and had never gone to Doksan. He was encouraged to go, and every time he went, he asked a question about the essence of Buddhism, and he was struck by his teacher. Every time he went, he was so confused and frustrated and discouraged, he left. He left the monastery. He went to another teacher who helped him see what he couldn't see before. What his teacher, first teacher, was trying to show him. Kyogen, a scholar monk, just like the head monk. Jinshu Josa, scholar monk. But despite all of Kyogen's study, he couldn't answer the question that his teacher posed to him, his koan, his breakthrough koan. What was his face before his parents were born? He was so discouraged, he burned his books, left the monastery, and practiced alone. He became the caretaker of the tomb or grave of an ancient master. What's most important, though, is he never stopped practicing. Years later, while he was sweeping the ground, a pebble struck a stalk of bamboo, and at hearing that sound, he awakened. So don't assume you know what you're capable of. That is something you cannot know. Bodhin Roshi put it this way: where one should learn to accept one's limitations and where one shouldn't is a crucial matter. As mature adults, we accept things like, I'll never play football for Green Bay, or I'll never be a physicist. We make peace with those things. In Zen practice, however, we never have to resign ourselves to limitations in our understanding. Like these masters who were also confused and frustrated and discouraged. Though all of us, from the very beginning, are Buddha, most of us have to work to realize that nature and for it to function in our everyday lives. Back to Not One Single Thing by Shodo Harada. In all of the 24 hours of the day, we must let go of all of our conditioning and ideas. We have to know this clear mind, free of all dependence on praise and blame, good and bad, success and failure. We may need knowledge and information to operate in the world, but we do not have to be attached to ideas such as this is good and this is bad. In order to change those mental habits, we do Zazen. When we see ourselves getting stuck, we have to let go. Here's a story. Every month, the disciple faithfully sent his master an account of his spiritual progress. In the first month, he wrote, "I feel an expansion of consciousness and experience my oneness with the universe." The master glanced at the note and threw it away. The following month, this is what he had to say. "I have finally discovered that the divine is present in all things." The master seemed disappointed. In his third letter, the disciple enthusiastically explained, "The mystery of the one and the many has been revealed to my wondering gaze." The master yawned. His next letter said, "No one is born, no one lives, and no one dies, for the self is not." The master threw his hands up in despair. After that, a month passed by, then 2, then 5, then a whole year. The master thought it was time to remind his disciple of his duty to keep him informed of his spiritual progress. The disciple wrote back, "Who cares?" When the master read those words, a look of satisfaction spread over his face. He said, "Thank God, at last he's got it." Recently, about a month ago, I was asked by a student, what was the best advice that my teacher ever gave me? It took me like 3 seconds to answer that question, because it's something that my teacher said to me at nearly every Doksan. It's something I say at nearly every Doksan because I mean it. What my teacher said was, keep going. Some final words from Shodo Harada. He said, "Even though everyone hears the same Dharma, some realize it quickly and some take longer. This doesn't mean that there are different Dharmas, only that those who walk the path have different characteristics. The sixth patriarch was one who awakened suddenly on merely hearing the words, 'Abiding nowhere, awakened mind arises.' In that instant, all of his burdens fell away, but there are not many like this. Nonetheless, if we continue to be diligent, the more we realize, the deeper we go, until abiding nowhere, awakened mind arises. Whether it takes 20 years to be realized or 1 instant, the awakened essence is the same for everyone." We'll stop now and recite the 4 vows.